things are buzzwords, but they are more than that. And our next two features really lean into this notion that we are faced with having to be more adaptive and more innovative than we ever have. Even if we want to do things that we're passionate about and that we love, and whether it's choral music or congregational music or helping children to learn music, we're having to figure out new ways to do that, and sometimes ways that are beyond the walls of the church. And we're going to hear first from Clark and Karen Sorrells about a really innovative ministry that they have thrown themselves into, heart, soul, mind, and strength. And let's hear from Clark and Karen. Let's welcome them.
Thank you. We're very glad to share our story, Doug. Thanks for the invitation. First, I want to just say that this story is just that, our story. It is not a prescription for how you should do things, or it's not a definitive model for how we have to be innovative. It's just our story. And so we're going to just tell it, and I hope some of it might be helpful to you in your context. And that will be, of course, your responsibility to contextualize anything that might strike a chord with you, and then throw the rest of it out. In addition to what we're going to say, we've done a lot of pictures. I was talking to Doug this morning at breakfast. We were talking about the power of Ken Burns' documentary. You know, the guy can tell a story. In fact, he has a YouTube effect named after him, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll see some of that happen over there on the monitor. But anyway, the pictures are there to hopefully help tell a little bit more of the story. So make yourself at home in all of that stuff over there. Well, about 8 to 10 years ago, to be honest, I can't remember exactly, our church started trying, as many of you've done, the old term long-range planning, looking out into the future and trying to figure out how we could come up, and the catch term in that conversation was new initiatives. New initiatives. And I remember it well. Guy Sales was our pastor, and we started that process. So, as Karen and I and the music ministry began to think, I came to be able to articulate some realities that haunted me, and some realities that continue to haunt me. And these are not going to be new to you, because I'm guessing they might haunt you as well. And that is first, and we've said it already, that church participation is diminished. It's just diminished. And this was 10 years ago. This was not post-pandemic. Of course, it's definitely more acute now. But this was back then. I'm wondering if these sound bites sound familiar. Scouts will be present. In other words, I'm not going to be there Sunday because we're going on a traveling baseball team, and scouts will be present at this event. So, I got to go. The traveling athletic industry has assaulted us. And I am from a family of sports coaches. You are. So, I love sports and athletics, but can I get an amen? Mm-hmm. They have assaulted us. And the scouts will be present. You've got to be kidding. Mm-hmm. The second one, we have tickets. Did they fall out of the sky like manna? Or did you actually get them? I think that's an excuse. If I have tickets, then surely you understand. You're going to love this one. We just need a day to catch up with ourselves.
About salary.
You can add a lot to these sound bites that are just indicative of church participation is diminished, and it haunts me. Secondly is lowered expectations in quality in church music. Lowered expectations in quality in church music. I don't know if Tim is still here, but an ACDA conference several years ago, I was sitting in, and it was all about choral techniques and choral tone, and the person said, if you sing it like that, you'll sound like a church choir. I about done it enough, but I did it because it was too true. I'll miss dress rehearsal but I'm good for the performance. And then how about a more positive sound bite? I will not offer the Lord that which costs me nothing. Lowered expectations and quality. It haunts me. And finally, this was a part of our church's situation and haunts me. Perhaps this might be yours as well. But space and instruments and resources being used for 1.5 days a week. Enormous, beautiful space. Beautiful resources, instruments, 1.5 days. Sunday, pretty much all day, and half the evening Wednesday. And that was about it. Pope Francis said, we cannot truly love the church if we hoard its riches. Wow, that caught me by surprise. And then an encouragement from my then pastor, Guy Sorrells. When we started thinking about some initiatives, we said we can't replicate what's already being done, arts education or the music school down the street or whatever. It just takes one person to say this to you, doesn't it? You know this. Guy Sorrells said to me, yes, but you will do it better. Oh my gosh, that was one of the most powerful things that it's ever, I'm almost crying now thinking about it, the most powerful thing ever said to me. And then finally a quote from John Wesley. Light yourself on fire with passion, and people will come from everywhere to watch you burn. Yeah. It's probably an ancient example of the term, build it and they will come. So, amidst those realities that haunted me and haunts me even now, there were also some realizations that excited me. Some realizations that excited me. As evangelicals, in the best sense of that term, I like that term. It's been co-opted and means a lot more different things than it does to me. And I know you understand what I'm talking about. But as evangelicals, we've been conditioned to imagine God first. We start with a concept of God as Redeemer. We're Jesus people, right? Redeemer. So we focus on trying to experience conviction, repentance, and regeneration from sin. Obviously, nothing wrong with that. It's central, right? Please don't hear me being a heretic. But we start with that. We focus on that. We do everything about that, which we should. Or we may seek God as a sustainer, the Holy Spirit. So we seek to nurture those fruits of the Spirit. I grew up calling it discipleship, trying to, learn more and embrace more of God's Holy Spirit. Neither of those understandings of faith are wrong, of course, aren't they? But what if we led in the understanding of faith? What if we led with the consideration of God as creator, the establishing act of the Godhead, the first act of God? If we started with that, led with that, and understanding faith, we would then pursue and find God by creating beauty ourselves, enlivening the Imagi Dei within all of us. What if we started with that? That would be our primary way of experiencing faith, creating beauty. So number 2 was from this realization that excites me even now. If that is true, what I just said, then growth in artistic ability expands a person's capacity to experience the sacred. Growth in artistic ability expands a person's capacity to experience the sacred. Arts education, then. Arts education, then. I'm looking to the camera. Arts education, then, is evangelism. Oh my gosh. Educating people in making beauty is evangelizing people in the tent, people that are your members or your attenders, then, if you think of arts education as evangelism, is limiting if we only program music ministry to people that are in our tent. What might happen if we rebuilt the tent or expanded the tent, looking outside the walls, or at least making the walls more permeable? What if we offered every person, in our community, every person, the life-changing experience of discovering the Imago Dei within themselves by arts education, leading with that experience in being evangelists instead of the Roman road. That I'm not knocking the Roman road, but it's a different way of looking at evangelism. So finally, the realization was, and I know I could name it in this room, music began in the church. Music began in the church, we know that. Her holy scriptures prescribe and celebrate it. She has nurtured it, she's financed it, and through the centuries, her faith has inspired the greatest compositions of music ever. So this historical role of the church as patron of the arts must and has to be reclaimed.
And so we felt like the time was right in our church's life for a new initiative. We had offered a fine arts summer camp. It was successful. And so that became an impetus for an ongoing academy. We felt like we had something to offer to our community. But we weren't sure, so we had to do some thinking about it. Our vision was to offer lessons in music and the arts, to sponsor performing ensembles, to host concerts, master classes, seminars by regional arts organizations. We needed a name, so we thought about the name, Academy for the Arts at First Baptist Church of Asheville. Well, now that's a mouthful to say. But we were intentional in Academy for the Arts. Just in case, we knew music, and that's where we wanted to start. But we thought, what if we want to do more outside of the music area? What if we want to go into drama, or into dance, or into musical theater, or some other things like that? So we wanted to leave it open-ended to allow for the expansion of that, should that come along. So we were Academy for the Arts at First Baptist Church, affectionately known as ACTA. And so to get started, we knew we had to have support. An essential starting place is to have that pastoral support. If you don't have the support of your pastor, then it's just not going to work. And so we sat down with our pastor. We asked a lot of questions, and he asked a lot of questions. And there was not a time that we did not feel encouraged by him to move forward with this. And so with his blessing, we were very fortunate to have a time of sabbatical. And so we thought we would just set out and visit lots of churches that were having arts academies within their walls. We wanted to start in that place. We knew of lots of outside arts academies, but we wanted to start with those that were in churches. And so we embarked on a journey around the country and hit several places, Mount Olivet Lutheran in Minneapolis, Houston's First Baptist, St. Luke's Methodist in Houston, Perimeter Church in Atlanta, Johnson's Ferry Baptist here in Atlanta, St. Martin's in the Field in London, many others, and we learned something from every single place we went. We learned some wonderful things to do and to consider, and we learned some things to not do. And so it was really good in that way that we could take something from every place that we went. When we returned from our sabbatical, we said, okay, it's now or never. We're either going to do this thing or we're going to just put it to bed and forget about it. I mean, who needs a new initiative at our age? I mean, look at all the gray hair. So it was like, what do we, and I know I've got some too. But it was like, do we really need to do all of this? And so we thought, all good Baptists, let's form a committee. We got together an advisory team that could help us in making this decision. And so we thought, okay, we want to keep it small. And so we had 6 members on our team, plus Clark and I and our coordinating pastor. Now, these 6 members, we were real specific in who we wanted to invite to be a part of this team. And so we had an educator, a couple of financial gurus, active parent, an art supporter, a lawyer, because you always need a lawyer just in case. And then a person on our team who was heavily involved in the traditional music in our community. Now, you don't live in Asheville, North Carolina, in those western mountains, and have an academy for the arts and not, have a track that involves traditional music. We knew we wanted to be a classical music school, but we have such a wonderful wealth of resources in that area, and traditional music is such a part of the heritage of that part of the country. We knew that that was going to be an important thing to do. So this was our team. And so we met with them, we told them all the things that we found from our sabbatical, gave them all this information, thinking that they might, turn tail and run out the door saying, "You're crazy in your head," but they looked at us when we said, "Should we?" They said, "Why not?" And you know what? Every single one of those places that we went to visit on our sabbatical time, when we said to them, "Should we do this?" they said, "Why not? Why not give it a try?" And so we did. Well, not that we're overachievers or anything, but we wanted to do it right. And so we said, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this right. We've got to think about, how we're gonna do this. We've got to think about the space that we're gonna have. And so we already sort of earmarked, thought about a space in our church that would work well. And it's our senior adult Sunday school space on the first floor of the building. Now, when you say senior adults, you know that you're dealing with a whole lots of things there. And so we thought, okay, these are some of the dearest, most wonderful people in our church. And so we went to them and we talked with them. We shared with them the vision that we had. And they heard us. We let them ask questions, and we talked about, sharing this space. And let me tell you, they were so excited about the presence that we could be in our community. Some of them even cleaned up their rooms and made space on shelves for our teachers. And so it was just really, it was a win-win situation. And so not only did we have the space, but the early financial support that we got from the church enabled us to freshen up the space, to get some new artwork up on the walls, to recover some couches and chairs, to find, to put together a really nice space, a very welcoming space for folks. And I'll tell you, I'm not above going and digging in closets and finding things that have been in there for years and making something new out of it. And so I'm sure in your churches there are lots of places like that you can find as well. So we secured that space. We met with our senior adults, and our goal for them was that they never knew that we were there during the week, so that when they came in on Sunday morning for their Bible study class, it was fresh and clean and straight for them and ready. So they didn't have to complain about anything being askew. It was just right for them when they came into their space. So that was very important to them. A driving impetus for us was to be teacher-centric and to support artists. And for me, I had a real passion for new artists that came to town. I don't know about your communities, but Asheville has its old guard, and most places do. And for a lot of new artists that come into an area, it's hard for them to navigate that old guard. And so as we found out about some of the new artists in town, I thought I would really love to give them a place to be and to let them have a place, an outlet, a place that they can call home in this new community. So as we were thinking about teachers, we wanted them to be able to do what they love most, and that is to teach. So to come in and not to have any worry about anything else. Of course, we want to take care of our students. We want our students to feel like this is going to be the best place for them to be for that 30 minutes or that hour that they're there. But the bottom line, we put our teachers at the top and making this be a place where they can come and do their craft and not have to worry about anything else. Everything else was taken care of for them. And so teacher recruitment was really important. I used personal connections with people in the community, networking with local musicians, and each faculty person was interviewed. In fact, the local Starbucks, I think, was going to get ready to charge me rent. We've been down there for coffee many times with every person. I sat down with them and talked to them about their vision as a teacher, what kind of curriculum they wanted to use, what was important to them, how they felt about being a part of something greater than just themselves, because many of them taught in their homes. Why do I want to come and teach in another place? It was about a sense of community. They were not just renting a room. This was about being a part of a greater thing in our community. So that was really important. And looking for the right person, we had some requirements. We wanted them to be degreed, with most of them having a master's degree, being well-trained in their area of teaching. We didn't want any trumpet teachers teaching violin lessons. And you know what? That happens. It happened in our schools. Our kids were product of that. And so we wanted to make sure that we have the right people teaching the right things. So either a degree or an expertise in the area of which you were going to be teaching. So, you know, there's not a degree in banjo performance necessarily. Those teachers that teach banjo and mandolin and fiddle, they learned that on their granddaddy's knee on the front porch, you know, in Madison County. That's how they grew up. And so that is, you know, we have just a fabulous faculty that you know, grew up and are nurtured in that environment. And so all of those things were very important to us. So we've got the faculty, we've got the space, and we wanted to start well. New endeavors have to start well, and we thought, no soft opening for us. We're not going to start and just, you know, see how it goes and figure it out a little bit later the next week, and a little bit the next week we'll tweak something else. Now, have we tweaked it in 8 years? Of course, we've tweaked a few little things. But we wanted to start well, so we took all of this information that we compiled and put it together to start in the very best way possible. And so we wanted to get as many students as we could to start and open our doors. We wanted to have great energy. We knew we had a great faculty and great space. So to make all of that happen well and to start well, we knew that we had to connect with people. And so that was marketing. Marketing. And that's a whole new world for us. You know, it's just a very different kind of a way to think. But we knew that we had to branch out into the world of technology. We had to have a logo. And so to do that logo, you know, in fact, we just updated our logo just this past fall. That was our original one, that we did a computer with one of our ministry assistants, and then we got a real, you know, graphic person to help us with this one to give it a fresh new look. You've got to have a website, and you've got to have all the things on that website. We are in the process, and we hope in the next 2 or 3 months to have a new website that we're working on in place. And so you've got to stay fresh and try to keep it current and keep it looking really good. And so we're trying to get that going in the next few months. And on that website, you want to make sure that you hit all the things: who you are, what you're about. You want to promote your faculty and your staff. And you want to, you know, let people know all the great things that you have available for them. Your online enrollment capability is really important. People need to be able to click a button, find that registration form, and it needs to be clean and clear and easy for them to navigate. Ask for just enough information. The rest of the information you can get when you have that one-on-one phone call with them to follow up. And you can ask them all the questions. You know, tell me about you or about your child who wants to take lessons. What are they, you know, interested in? And match them up with the right teacher that way. So just get just enough information. And then that social media presence: Facebook, Instagram, and we do sometimes go old school and use print media. So all of those things are still so important, and we found that having that consistent presence on social media is really important to do. So after you've done all the things, everything is ready, you're ready to open your doors, the schedules are in place, and for us, hospitality is key. And so as those students are coming in, you want to greet them well. And this is one place that we have seen a beautiful bridge between our church and the academy. You remember some of those senior adults I was talking about earlier? Many of them have volunteered and are receptionists in our academy, so that as those students come in, they're able to greet them, welcome them, check them off. They're invaluable to what we do every single day. And so that has been a beautiful, beautiful resource to have with those folks. Our teaching spaces are prepared. The lights are on. The chairs are in place. The stands are there. Everything is ready as that student walks in, as that teacher walks in to teach. The waiting area is prepared. Pre-pandemic, we had a Keurig with coffee. There's Wi-Fi, lounge spaces for your families to sit, Legos for the children to play with while they're waiting on their other siblings to take their lessons. It was just a beautiful environment to have, and so hospitality is just really key. Our goal was for all to feel safe and to feel welcome. And then we had to develop a financial model that would move us toward independence within 7 years. And so we wanted that to be realistic, and it needed to be measurable. So we thought, okay, let's start, keep it very real. And if we have 25 students to start that first semester, that's good. And then we need to add 25 new students each successive term until our 7 years are up, which would get us to our goal of 300 students by year 7. When we opened in the fall of 2014 with 72 students, and in March 2020, just when the pandemic hit, halfway through our 5th year, we were at 272 students, 26 faculty members. We are currently, we did go backwards a little bit during that pandemic. We hit about April of 2020 in 195, 197. in that area due to the pandemic, as you can imagine. But as of Friday, what is today, Friday, yesterday, Thursday, when we left, we were at 247 students, and I will say, literally, the Lord is adding to our numbers daily, and it is very exciting to see that happening. Because of private donations, we began 2022 financially independent, and I would be remiss if I did not say that there is such a need for financial assistance. And this year alone, we have given scholarships over $15,500, and in the almost 8 years of existence, almost $90,000 in scholarships. And so God is good and has blessed us in that way.
So build it and they will come is really true. I mean, there is no magic to what we've done. Again, we're not prescribing a model. I think John Wesley's right. If you're on fire for something, people will come and watch you burn. I really think that. And people want to give their money, especially to kids learning to play the banjo. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Of course they're going to get to that. So that's really wonderful. So in addition to the lessons and group lessons and things that Karen talked about, of course, there's so many details that if any of you have interested in details of the financial model and all this stuff she's talking about, we're glad to share that with anybody if that would be helpful. But we're trying to be done in 45 minutes. So the other kind of facet of the academy that we wanted to explore was performing ensembles. In 2006, when this 10 years thing started, at First Baptist Church of Asheville, we had 120 youth and 130 children involved weekly. These are people inside the tent. So about 250 kids, K through 12, coming for, traditional choral education. That I know many of you know exactly what that means and what that looks like. In 2014, just 10 years later, our numbers were 30 teenagers and 35 children, 65, from 250 to 65 in 10 years. Obviously, smarter people than I can talk about why that is culturally, why that was maybe unique to our church or whatever, but it happens. It happened. This is pre-pandemic. And so, in my best moment, I would respond to that saying, well, this is the faithful remnant, and we're gonna do our best with that. In my worst moment, I said, I am really sick and tired of throwing my pearls before swine. Scouts will be present. We have tickets. So I wanted to be unstuck from that. And you know the definition of insanity, right? Just doing the same old thing and expecting a different result. It's not working. What we're doing, and it wasn't because we were tired, and I know y'all know what this means. We were working harder than ever. And just it wasn't the same result. So I started entertaining the idea that perhaps my philosophy of church music ministry was a little bit myopic. What I had learned and formed in seminary, what I had observed, and what I really felt so strong in my heart, probably said in some of y'all's presence, so I'm getting ready to confess, that you've got to build a church music ministry around the worship of God. And choirs exist to lead the church in worship. It wasn't working. And so I thought, what about if choirs existed to serve the community, to connect with community issues, world issues? Of course, worship of God, I'm not discarding that, but that wouldn't be the driving force. What if the driving force was, let's serve the community. Let's discover a need that we think music can uniquely meet. And again, this was back in 2000, whenever it is, my dates are screwed up, 2014. So this was pre-pandemic, all the stuff that our country has gone through. And what I'm getting ready to say is not an old issue. Goodness knows it's not an old issue. But even then, before, again, George Floyd's horrible murder and all that has brought about in our society, I thought music could transcend transverse the divisions of race and socioeconomics and family structure and in our community school choice. These divisions that divide people, not necessarily, especially with school choice, with tension, but it just divides them. When you're on one schedule, you're on another, and I'm in and you're out, and you're homeschooled and you're at a public school and you're at a private school and I'm on online school and my charter school. When I grew up, everybody went to the same schools and your system got in and out and everybody, you know what I'm talking about? School choice is a divisive part of our society. I'm not saying it's bad, it's divisive. And so we begin to think about that. How can we use music to overcome those divisions? How can we leave isolation as the church and move to intersection? Isolation from the community, intersection with the community. And so we began to think about how can we enlarge our tent? How can we enlarge our tent? And so with that in mind, the Asheville Youth Choirs were formed. They were patterned after what you and I have grown up with, graded choirs, 4 choirs, preschool choir, choir, we called them different things, but it was basically built on that. Karen's going to tell you more about how we actually did it, but that's what we did. And we did it with this also in mind. We did it, and please don't stone me, we did it not leading with these are Christian choirs. We did it with, we believe in our community and we think arts makes us all better. Come. And we sang songs about Jesus. We sang songs about God. And our primary place of sharing was in places of worship. But we just said, come, come. We did that for 2 reasons. Just for that, come, everybody. Don't think that we're trying, that the First Baptist Church has a choir down there. We've done that. I've been there 20 years. We've done that. They weren't coming. So what if we just spun it a little bit differently? Still with the same goals, but spun it differently. That was the first thing, to increase and to enlarge our tent. Secondly, you all know this, arts organizations, of which Asheville has many, that I've always kind of wanted to partner with and be part of. They will not partner with faith-based choirs. They just won't. And so we became a community choir. That makes sense. And we had the majority of kids in our choir were Christian kids. We had many Jewish kids. We had many kids who the first time we sang somewhere that we had communion, they had no idea what we were doing. Arts education is evangelism. So a little snapshot, and then Karen's going to talk a little bit about how we did Asheville Youth Choirs. So we culminated Asheville Youth Choir in the 4th year of May, June of 2019 by filming a video. I'm sorry. What I wanted to tell you then, so in 5 years, after we began for 5 years, we had 215 in the Asheville Youth Choirs. Again, remember, 5 years earlier, First Baptist Church 65, and we had 215 in 5 years. We culminated the 4th year in May and June of 2019 by filming a video that I'm going to show you later that we're going to use that coming fall to kind of promote this banner 5th year anniversary coming up, 19 and 20. You know where I'm going. For the Academy of the Arts. So the year started off great. In October, we performed at the dedication. I'm giving you this to kind of show you what, when you become a community choir, what little avenues kind of might come your way. We sang at the ceremony for the new Asheville City Tennis Complex dedication. It was fantastic. In November, we presented a combined concert with the Asheville Symphony Chorus. It would have never happened otherwise. In December, the annual holiday concert, carefully chosen word, holiday concert entitled The Time of Snow. Y'all probably know that Bob Chilcott Dynamite anthem, A Time for Snow. which was ironically snowed out. It really was. We repeated it 6 days later, though. So then we began January of 2020 with a wonderful, exciting semester ahead of us. On Earth Day, we were going to see a concert sponsored by the Asheville Creation Care Alliance. What could be more holy than that? A performance at the annual Asheville Chamber of Commerce Gala at the Grove Park Inn. A concert with orchestra to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Academy. That was our semester ahead of us, as well as some church and synagogue plays. So on Sunday, March 8th, 2020, we sang and had dinner on the grounds with the largest African American church in Asheville. It was heaven on earth. Then that next Tuesday, March 10th, we were the pregame entertainment and sang the national anthem for the Southern Conference Basketball Championship. It's always held in Asheville. What a great, fun thing to do. And then, as you know, the very next day, March 11th, the World Health Organization declared COVID a pandemic, and we have not had a sung no by the Asheville Youth Choirs in 2 years. So, anyway, I've always said it, and I know you probably know this and believe it, the hardest work I have ever done as a minister of music is with youth choirs. It's the hardest work I have ever done. It is just endless, especially in this day right here. You coming? How was the game last night? How's your mom doing? You get it? You get it? It's constant, and it's always with you. But, you know what I'm getting ready to say, don't you, Randy? It is the most joyful, unexpected bliss that I've ever had as a minister. And even more so with this Asheville Youth Choir, because I was able to connect with kids from backgrounds I had never been able to connect with before. And in a minute, with this video, you might see that. It was wonderful.
So we expanded our tent. But as we did that, it was not always easy. There were challenges along the way, and some that saddened us. And some of this happened with our own teenagers in particular. You know, children, they can get along with anybody, they don't care. But some of our youth, I think, felt like they were losing their identity just a little bit as a youth group. And so,
to give that context, what you just said, I didn't say this, sorry. We started the Asheville Youth Choirs with that 30 youth as a core and the 35 children as the core. So we didn't just say, well, forget about you. It was, obviously, we hopefully inspired them to a new initiative, a new welcoming of the community.
which our church has always been, you know, reaching out and connecting in the community. But we did, you know, have some struggles with that, in particular with some of our teenagers. We'd done all the things. We had met with the families, and it was a go. It was the right thing to do. But, you know, not without some pitfalls along the way. But we needed to build the community. We needed to build the commitment of people. And so we thought, okay, what do? We have an audition. Of course, it was open to everybody. And I think maybe one or two ever didn't make it into the choir. And, you know, if you've heard them, you'd realize why. You know, they wanted to go to Dollywood. That was the reason for them wanting to join. That's a true story.
They said that.
Yeah, they said, oh, why do you want to sing? But they couldn't sing anything. And I want to go to Dollywood. I said, okay, thanks for letting me know. We'll be in touch. Anyway, so we had an audition. And what we did, we contacted music teachers in our schools, and we asked them to send us 10 names of students that they felt like would benefit from a community group like this. We got all the permission from all the big names and big wigs, so we weren't just infringing on anybody's rights. We said, please send us these names, and so they did. And then those people, those student names that we got, received a letter. You've been invited, you've been selected to audition for the Asheville Youth Choirs, and we all like to be invited to do something like that. It was sort of the who's who of you know, choirs at that particular point in time. And so we had a really successful audition that first year. And it was, you know, while again it was open to anyone, that gave us a good core outside our own church kids and youth. We had some requirements. We had an attendance requirement, 3 absences per semester. You got to have a few goals and guidelines there. But if you know Clark and I, It's 3 days before the concert and somebody's got 4 absences and we don't want them to sing the concert. So we're saying, write your words out 3 times to every anthem we're singing. Or we're saying, come and meet us on a Thursday afternoon and we're going to spend an hour, you and you and you, with me, and we're going to get you caught up to where everybody else is. And so we were always trying to find ways to keep people plugged in. There was a fee. It was minimal compared to many community groups, $50 a year. And the way we were able to do that was that First Baptist Church hugely subsidized that. We took the money that we had from our children's music program and our youth music program and put that into this venture. And so that helped significantly to make it really affordable to everybody that wanted to be a part of it. We had 4 simultaneous rehearsals. That was great in that it brought energy into the building. It was convenient for families who had siblings in different ages. It provided a great social interaction. It was helpful for various combinations of choirs. If you wanted to do a treble choir or TTBB or all choir kind of rehearsals, we had that ability to be flexible and to do that. Logistically, it was easier, but it also created challenges. You have to have 4 directors and 4 accompanists. And so there were 2 of us and 1 church accompanist. What did we do? We reached out into our community, some of our school teachers, and so we paid a couple of directors and some accompanists to come and to be a part of that. We had to resource volunteers. Our youngest choir still did a lot of activity teaching, and so hands-on training for those younger kids in addition to their singing. So we had to help train them and plan them for what was to happen every Sunday afternoon. We partnered with schools. We've already mentioned how we contacted these music directors. Clark, by himself, went to every single high school in the city and county and was given an audience of the choirs, the choruses, and was able to talk with them and to invite them to come in and to be a part. We sent personal emails and follow-up correspondence. We partnered with churches. Churches that were experiencing the same kind of thing that we were. They were eager to have youth and children come and sing.
When we started, there was not one church in Asheville, Buncombe County, 300 and whatever it is, 93,000 people. Not one church still had a youth choir. Not one. Randy, how many
Only
you know that?
First Baptist.
It was
And so we
unbelievable.
felt like this can benefit the whole community. And we tried to sing in churches of our choir members. And that was really very exciting for them to go sing in their church. And the church's Sunday morning worship was our largest potential for performance. And so that was just a really great partnership for all of us. Some churches even offered to provide meals. It was just really a very positive experience. We partnered with community arts organizations. Clark already mentioned that a little bit. Asheville Symphony Youth Orchestra, the Asheville Lyric Opera, the Asheville Symphony, service organizations like the Salvation Army and Creation Care Alliance, civic organizations, the hospital, Chamber of Commerce. And then we also felt like, okay, we are in our community, but it's important for us to give back to our community. So through the Academy and AYC, we collected socks and blankets to give to students as part of our after-school program. We are having a faculty concert that will benefit Manna Food Bank. So we're in the community, but we feel like it's important to give back to the community.
Thank you to Doug Vansel for putting me onto this anthem. Honestly, I hope I can do this. When I have to do that, Lord have mercy prayer.
How good and pleasant it is when we dwell together in unity.
How good and pleasant it is when we dwell together in unity.
How good and pleasant it is when we dwell together in unity.
And my final word, Gene, I don't think we have time for questions, but we definitely would love to do that, on our own in the hallway. But whatever is sparked in you, I really do believe if you build it, they will come. I really do. So
Wonderful.
go and build.